Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being in this session. I hope you are enjoying the whole event, actually. And I want to start by asking how many times we have come across with requirements where, oh, wait, let me just share my screen because I completely forgot about it. So let me know if you can see my screen right now, please. I think you can see it.
Yes, yes, we can.
So perfect. Having said that, I want to start by asking how many times we came across with requirements, then where we have to build a custom user interface with a nice look and feel, and at the same time we have to apply complex logic. So I think maybe you will agree with me that this type of requirement is becoming more and more common, and at least this has happened to me in the last few projects that I have been involved in. And this could be anything. For example, I don't know, allowing the user to upload um, files to SharePoint with drag and drop functionality, or preview the documents before the upload those documents to SharePoint. Or, for example, another good example could be to provide a wizard that allows the user to do real-time validations to validate a step in a business process flow, for instance. So I wanted to put two cool Power Platform components into action to achieve these kind of requirements. And these two Power Platform components are custom pages and custom APIs. And that's what my session is all about. First, a quick introduction about me. My name is Wilmer Alcivar. I'm MCT since last year. I was born in Ecuador, and I started in 2012 with Sugar CRM. And in 2013, I moved to Dynamics CRM, or at least that is how we used to call it back then. And in 2015, I moved to Uruguay to continue my professional growth. And 2019, I moved to Spain for the same reason. And since February this year, I'm living in the Netherlands. I'm a Power Platform and Dynamics 365 CE technical consultant at Dynamic People. And to be honest, I'm really happy to be here for all the challenges that I'm crossing right now on my professional life. So since last year, together with three other friends, we founded Power 365 Initiatives, which is an initiative that for now covers only one branch of contribution to the community. Um, Yet the idea is to have several branches in the future. But anyway, so we started last year this branch, and its name is Power 365 News. The goal of Power 365 News is to share in a bi-weekly basis news updates, our community contributions, and tips about Dynamics 365 CE and Power Platform. And this branch has its own profile on LinkedIn and its own YouTube channel. It's worth mentioning that the content right now is only in Spanish, so be aware of that. Maybe in the future or in the near future, we can start creating content in English. And 3 weeks ago, I started my own blog. So my goal is to write about Power Platform, Dataverse, and Dynamics 365 customer engagement. So please stay tuned to my LinkedIn profile. So let's start. To summarize the whole business case, I'm gonna use a requirement that I had a couple of months ago. So this project that I was involved in was about Dynamics 365 sales. And we know that the normal sales process is to create an offer. And when the customer approves it, that offer becomes an order. And later it becomes an invoice. Well, in my case, the specific requirement was to allow the user to split the payment of the quote, like 50% by card or 50% by cash. But the split process should be based or should be applied on the quote products, meaning the user can split the cost of a quote product into several payments. So in a nutshell, I had to provide an interface for the user to choose one or more quote products and let them create one or more payments for each of those selected quote products. For me, until that time was kind of crazy because what I did know up to that point is about that the requirements that where you have to split the total cost of the quote or an invoice into several payments. For example, sometimes we want to pay 50% by card or 50% by cash or whatever. Well, now with this requirement, this logic should be applied like let's say at the line level instead of the header level. Now, let's talk about the technical part of this requirement. So how I can achieve this. In general, the user should be able to select one or more quote products and specify some data to the selected records and then apply some logic, right? Which sounds like a Canvas app to me, but I didn't go for this option because, as I said, this was a sales process. So the user was already using the sales model-driven app, and an embedded Canvas app takes a few seconds to load, and it also requires to be shared with the users. So in the end, I decided to go with a custom page. Now, let's say that the visual part is solved with a custom page. Okay, but how I can create all these payment records in Dataverse with minimal performance impact, knowing that hundreds of users will be using this feature and some of them likely at the same time. Having said that, I decided to create a custom API that takes care of creating all the payment records, but using a bulk request. And the custom page is called via Cloudflow. The custom API, sorry, is called via Cloudflow. And this custom API will take care of create and update all the records. So I will show you the code later. The Cloudflow is really small. It's just called the custom API, and the custom page calls the Cloudflow. I'm pretty sure that all of you guys already have worked with custom pages, so I'll be really fast with this. Custom page is a new page type within the model-driven app, which brings the power of the Canvas apps into model-driven apps. So custom pages increase the, let's say, convergence of model-driven and Canvas apps, and can be used to add full pages, dialogues, or panes, or with the flexibility of the Canvas app designer. And actually, what I did in my project is to open the custom page as a dialog using a JavaScript code. But don't worry, because as I said, later I will show you the code. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not good as I would like to when I have to add containers to the Canvas app or the custom page to make it responsive. It will be easy for you guys, but sometimes I struggle to align the components of a container. But anyway, I didn't want to create a custom page from scratch. So what I did was to install the Power Apps Creator Kit core solution. So this solution contains all the ready-to-use components such as the command bar, the search box, detail list, progress indicator, spinner, etc. And I also installed the Creator Kit reference for model-driven app solution, which contains, let's say, templates to create a model-driven apps and custom pages in a few clicks. So in the end, I created a custom page using a template, and I used some of the components of the core solution. And as a custom pages subject, this maybe is already common for you, so let me be very fast with this. We can use custom APIs to create our own APIs in Dataverse. We can consolidate one or more operations into a single custom API that you and, let's say, other developers can call it from their code or from Power Automate using the Dataverse connector. So in a nutshell, a custom API is like a normal plugin with all the benefits of applying custom logic, but with the advantage of being able to run this logic from anywhere else in Dataverse. But again, knowing that hundreds of users could be using this feature, and probably some of them at the same time, I didn't want to create the payments one by one. Let's say, for instance, in using an iteration in my custom API to create a record for each payment. So that's what I wanted to create, a custom API that execute a bulk request to create all the payments allocation in just one call to the server. So I will show you the code of the custom API later on. And I also needed to create a button in the quote ribbon to open the custom page as a dialog. So as I said, in my case, what I did is from the quote, I have a button, the user clicks on it, and the custom page will be open as a dialog. So here we have two options. First, using the new command editor experience to create the button. And the second option is to create the button using our beloved reborn workbench forums called Duro. Whatever option is chosen, JavaScript code must be applied at the end to open the custom page. In my case, I started out with a TypeScript project. Again, don't worry, I will show you the code. And the other component I had to create is the Cloudflow to connect the custom page and the custom API. So the Cloudflow is like a kind of a bridge to communicate these two components. I'm not sure, but I think that is possible. That is possible that maybe we can call our custom API using a custom connector. I'm not sure, completely sure, but I think it is possible. So if that is the case, that we can call our custom API from a custom connector, I think is really handier in the scenarios when we have to, when we have several custom APIs and we need to call them from other parts as well, because in that way we skip all those cloud flows and we can pack all those calls into a single component. But anyway, I think that's a subject for another session. And so enough of theory. Let's see how these two components work together. So first of all, I would like to thank to my colleagues Niels Mine and Victor Sixma, because they have helped me a lot with the technologies that I'm going to show you today to achieve this kind of requirement. So let's jump right into the model-driven app. Well, for demo purposes, I've created a new model-driven app, and I've included just a few tables in it. As you can see, it's a very small app. The original sales process of the project that I was involved in covers from lead table to invoice table, so the complete sales process. In this case, I've only included the most important tables for this requirement. So if we go to the payment allocation table here, let me open a new record. So we can see that it contains some columns such as the customer who will actually will pay the payment allocation, let's say, and this could be a contact or an account. And this is important point because the split of the quote product cost is assigned to another person or company who will actually pay the payment allocations. And an example of this could be when we have partnerships that are made up of different companies, in which cases one of these companies will make the payment, for instance. And then we have the funding type, which indicates if the payment party is a person or a company. And we have of course, we have the payment method as well, which is a lookup field to set if the payment is by card, by cash, or direct debit, or invoice, or whatever other payment method we have. This could be an option set because it's just a few options. But in my case, a non-admin user wanted to have control over these catalog records to create them, to create new records or update existing ones. So in the end, I just create a new table for this. And we also have their we also have their start date is okay. We also have the start date and the end date to indicate the time frame in which the payment can be made, and the percentage column, which indicates what percentage out of the total will be paid, and the amount column, which is related with the percentage column, right? So this column will show the amount of money based on the percentage that was specified for. And of course, we have the quote product lookup field to relate the quote product with the payment allocation, right? So now let's go to the quote table. Let me just discard these changes. And let's try to open this record. This is the quote. And as we can see, we have 3 records in here. I mean, we 3 quote products records. So if I click on the split button, I can see the custom page as a model. Now, what I have to do is to select the desired product. For example, it can be 1 or more. Let's say I'm just selecting these 2 records. And then I click on new button, right? So now what I see on the right is a new payment allocation record, right? The entity that I showed you before. So in order to specify some data before sending it to Dataverse. So I can specify, for example, let's say this is a contact, and the contact is called Joanne Elayat, and the payment method is by invoice, and this will start from the next Monday until 28. And the percentage, let's say, it will be the 50% of the total of this. This is the sum of these 2 values, right? Because I'm selecting these 2 records, right? But let's say I have another payment, right? Because I can assign the other 50% to in this case to an account, right? I can also, by the way, I can also delete one of these records if I'm not sure about it. For example, let's just click on this icon, and this will remove the record from this collection because, by the way, this is a local collection. So let's click on a new record. Let's specify some data, change from the 28th, 3rd, and let's say this will be just, I don't know, 25%, right? And by the way, if the quote has many quote products, let's say in this case, it's just 3 of them, it's just a few. But if the quote has many quote products, I can search for a specific one using the search box component like this. For example, here I can just write down like I want to search for the cafe product, and automatically will filter this product, or the airport, right? The airport products. I have 2 of them, right? So now, because I search for the products, I have to select again. Now, there you go. And when I finish splitting the cost of the quote products, then I can click on the confirm button. So this button calls Cloudflow, sending all the payment allocations as a parameter. So all these records in this collection will be sent towards the Cloudflow. The Cloudflow received that information and calls a custom API, sending the same information in the same format. And after the custom API finishes creating all the payment allocations, then the result message is sent back to the Cloudflow, and the Cloudflow responds to the custom page with the same message.
So let me just click on this, confirm. And after a few seconds, this button is already calling the Cloudflow, the custom API, and I can see the message. So it's a very basic message, of course. So this already indicates me that the process is done, it's finished. Right? And how I can see those how I can see the payment allocations created? Well, if I go to the corresponding quote product, I can go to the payment allocations. And from here, I will see two payments because I create two split records, right? For the 50% and the 25%, right? So I remember I did for this one and this one as well. And the cafe, of course, is empty because I didn't select this quote product. Now, let me show you what I did in order to install both Power Apps Creator Kit solutions. So first you have to go to the Power Platform Admin Center. So here, and then you have to select the right environment. So let's say I go to environments. I just go for my trial environment. And there you have to go to settings. And then you have to go to features. And finally, you have to turn on this feature called Power Apps Component Framework for Canvas App. And after that, you have to download both solutions from Microsoft documentation, right? Then you have to install the first solution, which is the core solution. And then you have to install the model-driven reference solution. Again, remember the core solution contains all the ready-to-use components like the search box, the command bar, and the model-driven reference solution contains like the templates to create a model-driven app and the custom pages in a few clicks. So now that we have seen how this custom page works and the install process for both solutions, let's see how I build this custom page. As I said before, I wanted to create the custom page using a template. So let me just jump into here, my solution. So what I did is to add an existing custom page called custom page template. So I did is the following, is just go for page, add existing a custom page, and I select this template, right? And then what you have to do is just add it to your solution. You have to open it, and then you have to click on Save As a new custom page. Afterwards, you can continue modifying your own custom page, but of course, you have to remove the original template because you will not use it. So in the end, what you have is a copy from the original template, and this custom page already contains the containers to make it this custom page like responsive, including the command bar and the search box components, right? So now let me jump into my custom page. So here we can see the custom page, which contain the components, right? Like this, for example, the command bar, the search box. So everything of the like this, and the containers as well, by the way. So all these containers are already there when you create your custom page using the template, right? First, what I have to do, right, is to retrieve the GUID that I sent it as a parameter from the JavaScript that is triggered from the button in the quote form, right? So again, what I'm trying to mean is if I go back to my quote, here I have a button, and this button is executing or is triggering JavaScript code, and the JavaScript opens the custom page and it sends the GUID of the quote to the custom page. So that is the first thing that I do on the custom page on the OnStart property. And this is like this, for instance. Just for testing purposes and for demo purposes, I leave in this hard-coded to show you, but this is the original one. So I'm retrieving the parameter called record ID, which is the GUID of the quote, and then I'm retrieving the quote record itself using that GUID, right? And I also declare a variable which is a copy of an empty payment allocation record, which is this one, right? But without the polymorphic columns like a customer or owner, the owner column, because otherwise I will have problems when I want to send all the payment allocation to the Cloudflow using the JSON format. It's not allowed. So I have to remove this kind of columns first, right? I use this variable, this var new record variable, which contains an empty payment allocation record. I use it when I click on the add button in order to add a new empty record to the collection. So when I click this button, I add a new empty record here. Then I have to add the detail list component. So because this component doesn't come in the custom page template, right? So I have to add this component, and you can see it here on the left side. And this is for list all the quote products related with the quote, right? And the next step is to specify what columns will be available for this component. And to do that, you have to go to the properties panel. So here on the right, here on the fields, and here you can specify all the available columns for this component, right? And then from those available columns, you have to specify which of them will be visible in here, right? And for that, you have to go to the columns items property, which let me show you that. It's here. Here, we can specify the schema name of the column, the display name, and some other properties like the size or the column. For example, if the column is sortable or resizable, that kind of stuff. So I can specify all of this in here. And then I have to specify in the OnChange property. So let me go to that property again. OnChange here. So here I have to specify the corresponding logic to add the selected quote product, right, into a collection called quote products, plus a new column called allow add record. So I will use this column later, but in a nutshell, what this column allows me is to apply the split process to the corresponding selected product, because I can select and then I can unselect the product. So only those quote products selected will be available to apply the split process. And then let me show you again this code. And again, the last part is to validate if the quote product is already splitted, right? If that's so, then the value of the allowed add record, which is this column that I just explained to you, is false. The value of this column is false. So I won't allow. I won't allow the user to use the same product to split it more than 100, because it's not possible. It should be not possible. And also we have to set with the true value this property that is called, let me show you, in the same component, of course. Let me show you this properties raise on row selection change event. So this property has the true value in order to trigger the onSelect event, because otherwise I won't be able, sorry, to trigger this onSelect event. So no logic will be triggered when I select those records. And
finally, we have to go to the selection type. So if we go to the selection type property here, and we can set the multiple value, and this will allow us to select more than one product. So by default, I think it's just one product that you can, one record that you can select in this component. But if you set the value multiple, you can select more than just one or all of them, for example. And last but not least, the items property, right, of this component. Again, let me show you the items property here. So the items property is already filtering by the quote product name, right? Using what the search box component contains. So if the user writes some product name in here, in the search box component, it will automatically filters the detail list, right, component. So that's it for the search box component. And now we have the next bar we have is the command bar. First, we have to, let me show you here on the OnChange, I think it was here on items property, sorry. First, we have to specify the buttons available on this component on the items property. And here we can specify the typical, new button or edit button or upload, download, or delete, or even help button. So I'm using just these two, new and upload as the confirm button. And for the logic that we want to execute after clicking the new button, then we have to go to the OnSelect property. So, but before that, we are aware that when you specify a button in here, you have the item key, right? So now if we go to the OnSelect property, right? Here we have to validate the button key name that was clicked. And here I have a trick. So in order to have a cleaner code in this component, I have two hidden buttons that execute the logic for the new and for the confirm buttons. So what you can see in here is just when you click the new button, it's just triggering another button that is hidden. Same for the confirm. So those buttons are here, for example. The add button is let me show you here. It's a trick that I learned from Reza Dorani in one of his great videos in YouTube. So in a nutshell, the trick is to add a kind of ID column that contains unique values in a collection, right? So when we try to patch those records in the collection, the patch statement will know which record is which. So every time the user clicks the add button, we will get a new record in the collection with this statement, with this formula, sorry, right? But with that unique ID, and that's for the var number variable, right? And the internal ID, which is a unique, which is an internal column of this collection. So, and the name of this collection that I'm using is payment allocations. And you can guess that the payment allocation is the source, the data source of this component that I have here on the right, which is just a gallery. And in the other hand, the confirm button, let me show you that here. The confirm button is validating that first all the collections records has any empty field, right? So if all the records have been filled correctly, then it will call the Cloudflow, sending the collection, the payment allocations records, as a JSON parameter. Otherwise, it won't call, of course, it won't call the Cloudflow, just watching to show you a message like this, for example. Let me show you. If I click this, I click on new. Let's say I specify just the contact and the customer, right? I'm trying to confirm So the first thing that I can see is the start date field is empty. Okay, let's put some data in this field. Now the end date field is empty, and it's the same process for all the fields. So let's say I have another record and I complete the first record with all the values. It will do the same for the same record for this next record. So in that way, I'm and the user is how do you say it? I'm obligating the user to enter all the records, all the values on each record, on every field. And then we have the payment allocation gallery, which is this component on the right. And this is a vertical gallery, and the data source, as I said before, is the payment allocation collection, which is being filled when I click the new button. So as you can imagine, initially the record is empty, so the user has to fill with the corresponding data, right? And then, as I show you, if I go back to the confirm button here, is in the end is calling the Cloudflow, sending the payment allocations records as a JSON, right? So the Cloudflow is really small. It just received the call from the custom page, and it calls a custom API, sending as received from the custom page. So if I go back here, let me click on edit. So here's the Cloudflow. It's really small, as you can see. It's just receiving the parameter from the custom page, and then it calls the custom API, right? And it sends the payment allocations. So it's really simple, that part. But now for the best part, the code, right? So let me show you that. I try to keep the custom API small and clean, delegating all the heavy work to a handler class. So this is the code of the custom API, and as you can see, it's just like any other plugin, but with the difference that it can receive and send parameters. So here I'm receiving the collection from the Cloudflow in JSON format, and then I'm deserializing this JSON into an object. And finally, I'm calling the main method in the handler class, right? Sending the object. So if I jump to this method, is the create payment allocation method. What it's doing is first retrieves from the Dataverse, right? All the existing payments allocations that are related to the quote products. So this is the method. I'm using just a fetch to retrieve all the existing payment allocations that are related with the quote products of the quote, right? And then it compares with the incoming payment method allocation from the custom page using this method, prepare payment methods. So if the incoming payment allocation from the custom page is new, like this, then it creates the record, right? And finally, I'm updating the corresponding quote product record with the percentage that has been splitted, right? So, and in order to do that, I'm using this piece of code in order to update the corresponding quote product. Now, here's the tricky part: to create and to update all the records in just one call. First, I create an organization request collection up here. And then on each iteration, let me show you here, on each iteration, I'm adding a create request or update request. depending on what I want to do. For example, here I'm adding a create request for all the payments allocations records that I'm creating, the new ones, let's say. And here I'm adding an update request for update in order to update the quote products. All of these in the same object with the request collection, right? The organization request collection. And finally, I'm executing this object with this, which is another handler method called execute batch request, right? Which it just contains execute multiple requests, right? And for the TypeScript, right, is last but not least. So the code that tries to open or opens the custom page as a dialog. Again, I try to keep my ribbon.ts file as clean and simple as possible, and I created a handler method to actually open the custom page. So in the custom page method, if we jump to that method, we can see how I'm sending the name of the custom page, right? Like this. And the entity name of the entity name and the record ID, right? Which is the quote ID. So this is the parameter that I receive in the OnStart property within the custom page, and then I retrieve the actual quote record with that. So after the custom API is done, we have to upload the assembly file using the plugin registration tool, right? We can use the normal or the supported by Microsoft, out of the box by Microsoft, or we can use our beloved XRMN toolbox to do that. And after that, we have to go to our solution. So let's jump right in our solution. And here we can create our custom API record. So I can create this custom API. It must contain a unique name, and then we can associate this record with our code that we just uploaded using the plugin registration. Right? It's a global custom API. It's not bounded to any entity, right? And then the same process has to be applied to the custom API request parameter and the custom API response parameter. So this is the request parameter that is in charge to receive or transport, let's say, the payment allocation from the custom page, right, into the custom API. And so far, this is the part that I have for the low code. And another thing that we can create, for instance, in the custom page, for example, let's say that, oh, I almost forgot that. That's the part that I want to explain. On the detail list component here, we have another property, which is the OnSelect, right? So on the OnSelect property, we can, for example, we can execute another custom logic. In this case, what I'm trying to do is every time or after the user is create all the payment allocation records. So every time that the user double click on a record, let's say that quote product, I would like to see those payment allocation records, right? So if I click play again, for instance, if I click on this quote product, I'm going to another screen of this custom page, but I would like to see those, let's say those payment allocation. So let me try to create really fast a gallery in here.
Try to delete this. And from here, sorry, just here. This should be added to the payment allocations. And now I can insert just a few labels, right? And what I want to do, sorry, is just to show just the payment allocation related with the quote product that I double click on it. So I go back to the gallery. I can apply on the items this formula in order to filter, right, the payment allocations for that. Because if I go back again to my detailed list component, when I double click on a quote product record, I'm setting this variable, right, with the ID of this record. And then I'm going to the next screen. So I'm using this variable to filter the gallery in the other screen, right? Again, if I click on play, for instance, I have two payment allocation. Of course, I only have the name of those payment allocations. See, I can see those payment allocations. And now let me go back to my presentation. So what are the key takeaways? As we saw, it's possible to combine the power of custom pages and custom APIs. And first is to create a custom page, you can use the Power Apps Creator Kit solution or not. I mean, we can use it or not. I prefer to use it because of the templates. It saves a lot of time working with containers and components like the command bar and detail list. I mean, you don't have to create them from scratch. So if you go with the creator kit, then remember to install them first on all your environments. So the deployment afterwards, or if your custom pages, will be easier. And remember to enable the Power Apps component framework for Canvas app feature for all your environments using the Power Platform Admin Center. And important, don't forget to add your custom page to the model-driven app. Otherwise, the button won't be able to open it as a dialog. So, I don't know if you already know it, but it happened to me. It happened to me. So if I go to apps, if I click on edit, because sometimes we focus on create a custom page and the code and that's it. But we have to add first the custom page here, because otherwise the button won't be able to call this custom page. Okay. And as a second point, we need to create a button and use a bit of JavaScript to call the custom page as a dialog. In this step, you can use either the new command editor or the Ribbon workbench. And third, you need to create the custom API. And in here, you can apply all the imagination that you want, I mean, regarding with C# development. I decided to apply a pull request to have minimum performance impact. So that's it from my side so far. I don't know if we have some questions.
Yeah, we do have questions. So first of all, very good presentation, tying up custom pages with custom APIs and all that nice stuff. And using Creator Kit was also a great input. So a few questions, one from Coquelin. So if you click on the confirm button and that shows up the custom page in the model, can we automatically close the model?
Yeah, we
on
can.
on the confirm page.
Yeah, we can. We can. Yes, with the back function.
Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, Kokulan. And then the next one was around all around the creator kit, because a lot of people were really interested in knowing what the components were you have used, and then you covered it at the end, that it's the creator kit. So there are a lot of components in the creator kit, guys, if you want to take a look at it. The next question is from Samuel. Is it possible to get the GUID of the record in which the page, custom page was embedded? Something similar to the model-driven form integration function in Canvas app.
Actually, I tried to do that, trying to embed a custom page as a embedded Canvas app, but I didn't succeed with that. So no, I mean, I think it's not possible. It's just if you want to actually embed something different in a form, in a model-driven form, then you have to go with the Canvas app. Otherwise, it's a custom page is just for a full page in your from your sitemap, or you can open it as a dialog, as I did. Yep.
Okay. The next question is from Ulrich and Ulrich. And so you did, from custom pages, you called the flow, and from flow, you called the custom API. Was that just for the demonstration, or you could have used the patch command? That's what the question is, like confirming whether that was for demo.
Yeah, good questions. Actually, yeah, I consider it at the beginning of the requirement. I consider it to just use the patch, let's say the patch function from the custom page. In that case, I will just skip the Cloudflow and I will just skip the custom API, right? But as I said at the beginning of the presentation, this custom page will be using hundreds of users, and probably some of them at the same time will be using the custom page. And it's just in this case that I show you, I just creating 2 or 4 records, but in real life they are creating 30 records or 40 records. So if I multiply, if I do the math, I think it's not performance to do that kind of or amount of records to be handled with the patch from the custom page. So that's why I create a custom API to handle or delegating all the heavy work to the server side.
So performance-wise, handing it off the custom API is better than doing it inside the Canvas app.
Come again with the question, sorry?
No, it's not a question. So what I hear
Okay.
you say is it's better to do complex stuff on the server side, hand it off to custom API, rather than trying to handle that in the custom page itself.
Yeah, for sure. 100% sure. Yes, indeed.
The other question is from Zafar Ahmed. And the question is, how does the end user log into the custom page? Where are the credentials stored for the end user in that case?
It's using the same credentials as the user is already logged in the model-driven app.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. The other question is from Ruth. If you wanted to create something similar with custom pages in model app, but your coding skills are not up to creating a custom API, what would you advise?
Well, good question. Depending on your requirement, but if you are not a pro code, you can use either a Cloudflow to just retrieve all your records and compare between them, and then just create the records or update them. You can use a Cloudflow, and you don't need the developer skills to do that.
And then there's another question from Kim. Really interesting question. So I'm liking this session. It's very involved. So this question is from Kim, and the question is, does custom page also has the same delegation limit like Canvas apps?
Yes, it has. It has. I think it has the same delegation problem. and with the Canvas app, yes. And also, by the way, I forgot to mention, but be aware because the custom API, sorry. I mentioned that they are just like any other plugin. So with that, again, we run with the 2 minutes limit, right? So you have to consider that as well. If not, maybe you have, I mean, custom API is not the best option if you know beforehand that you have a lot of records and the process will take more than 2 minutes. So in that case, I will just suggest go for another option. I don't know, let's say an Azure function, for instance.
Yeah, a lot of options. Azure Functions, Power Automate, Cloudflows,
yeah, indeed,
or custom API. Depending on the situation, you'll have to select what you want to do with it.
Indeed.
And so this was a call out from Yogesh as per Arpit's session, which I didn't attend, so I cannot attest to it. But as per Arpit's session, we should not use executive multiple request in the plugin. So that's just a call out over there, which is true, by the way. I think yeah, those are all the questions. I think I have covered everything. If I've missed any of the questions that were in the chat, please do post it again. So we have a couple of minutes and Wilmer is here to answer them.
Yes, I will. No problem.
Okay. Let's give it a minute here. Raz, you have anything?
Thank you, Wilmer. Yes, that's really good. Highly educational. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, we are now moving on to the next session. So thank you, Wilmer, for again joining us and sharing your solution pattern. These solution patterns are very important for the community because just to share a little bit about myself. So when I began my career in Dynamics about 16 years ago, I was working for a Microsoft partner. And over the period of years, we developed a pattern of building Dataverse solutions. And to this very day, those patterns mean a lot because they're reusable, you know. And so essentially, that's what you've done, Wilmer. You've shared your pattern there. So thank you so much for that. And yes, look forward to the next session. So, and by the way, Wilmer, hope to see you in person very, very soon.
I hope that as well. And thank you again, Raz and Danish, for having me in this event. And thank you all you guys for being in this session. I love to share my knowledge.
Fantastic, Wilmer.